Welcome, fellow YouTube artists, to another tutorial. Today is going to be a speed drawing video. I'm going to take an old comic book panel. Here's the reference of it, and we're going to revectorize it and kind of modernize it and get it looking like what you see here. So also, I want to mention that picture too, just in case you don't have the comic. I'm going to have it at vectorart.club. It is not a .com, it's .club. But in case you haven't seen the other two tutorials I've done, which is the Captain America shield and the Iron Man arc reactor, they're both done in Affinity. And then there's a quick little tutorial on how to do the plug. But if you want to keep up with my tutorials, vectorart.club, and we're going to try to do a new redraw maybe every other month or so, and kind of keep replacing the main image on the wall or add more. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but this is the club and it's looking bare, and we got to start filling those walls. So I'm going to jump over to my iPhone and show you guys the actual comic, and then we're going to come back in. It's going to be a speed draw, and I'm going to talk over it and just kind of like tell you kind of what I'm doing, and we'll talk some Affinity Designer, we'll talk some comics, and we'll have a fun time. All right, see you guys back in a bit. All right, guys, this is what we're going to be drawing today. This cool frame that I found in a Hulk comic. This is, I want to say this is 90s Hulk. This was a good one. I just seen the Doctor Strange movie, and this is just a good one where Strange is fighting the Hulk. It's not actually the Hulk. I mean, it is the Hulk, but Banner goes into the Hulk's head, and Doctor Strange helps him do that, and the Hulk takes over. And it's a really good issue. If you guys are fans of the Hulk, I don't know, maybe you have this one, or if not, it's issue 371. I'm sure you can find it for $1 or $2 on eBay. It's not really a nobody's first appearance or anything. Nothing special about this comic. I do want to take a second. We're going to take that frame and redo it, kind of update it a little bit in Vector, but I just want to point out the actual artists here who are doing this. We're basically going to be just tracing over and kind of re-stylizing it, but the artists are all listed here. And one to note is the pencils by Dale Keown. Is he was a really good drawer. He's best known for drawing the Hulk. He did a lot of the early 90s Hulk comics, and he's definitely one of the, when you think the Hulk and just the classic look of the Hulk, he's definitely one of those artists who did it. And he ended up later on leaving Marvel and doing the Pit comics for I don't know if anybody remembers that, but good stuff. So yeah, if you're into comics, you know, you might as well just try to find this one on eBay. And I mean, any comic. You know what? I think we're going to start doing these every now and then, just taking old comic frames and updating. And welcome back. So the first thing we're going to start doing here is after you get your picture imported and everything, you just want to start tracing out all the basic shapes with the pen tool. Or I also do use a tablet, a Wacom tablet. I'm actually using a Apple iPad with the pencil, and a app called AstroPad, which kind of turns your iPad into a Cintiq. But any kind of Wacom tablet would do as well. So with this specific frame, if you want to follow along, you can go to my website, which is vectorart.club, and just find this post. I'll have a link on it in the YouTube video, and I'll have this specific frame. However, this will work with any kind of frame. You know, I'm kind of just going over theories and kind of generalizing it through Affinity Designer of kind of how I got this. And
nothing in here. Everything's pretty basic for the most part. We're just kind of tracing stuff out. So you're basically going to start out in vector, trace it out. You're going to go into the pixel persona and kind of add some more, use some brushes on it and stuff like that. Um, and then bounce back into vector, touch stuff up. We're going to be going back and forth. I'll kind of point out stuff as it's going on. But right now, I'm just tracing everything out, and that's how you get started. You get all the basic shapes out first, and you just kind of keep going from there. So while this is playing out, let's take a second to talk about comics here. So I seen the new Doctor Strange movie. I loved it. I'm assuming if you're following my tutorials or if you're watching this tutorial, you're a fan of comics. And I just thought it would be cool to do this one with the Hulk and Doctor Strange. Because who knows, man? There's still, now that Doctor Strange is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, something like this might happen. You never know. So in this comic, this is just a really good comic. It's, Bruce Banner tries to go into his own mind, which is the Hulk's mind, to try to kind of get his rage down. And Doctor Strange is the one who kind of makes that happen, who puts Banner inside of the Hulk's mind. And of course, things go wrong, and the Hulk, technically right now, Doctor Strange is fighting the Dark Hulk. And, those bands that he puts around him in this frame don't last long. In the next frame, he's breaking out of them. And Namor is in this issue as well, and he has to help Doctor Strange take care of the Hulk. And Namor, if you don't know who Namor is, he's basically the Marvel Aquaman, but he's way better than Aquaman because Aquaman's I don't know, man. Aquaman, I'm not a fan of Aquaman, but I'm a fan of Namor. He doesn't need to be in the sea. I guess Aquaman doesn't either, but he's still super strong, and he's still got a lot of powers even when he's not in the water, but he excels in the water. So I'm a big fan of 90s comics. That's what I grew up on. Obviously the Hulk, and I'm a big X-Men fan and everything. So we're going to try to redraw stuff every now and then, and I think it'd be something fun to do. So this is the first one. I think it came out okay. I definitely think there's room for improvement in the future. And I think especially as an affinity grows, it's going to get better. There's still a couple things that I'd like to see Affinity do a little bit better. And I'll say something else about this tutorial specifically. When I was doing it, I was really trying to keep with default Affinity everything. So all these brushes that I'm using here are default Affinity. Both the vector brushes and the texture brushes, they're just all default and they work. I mean, I think this turned out good, but I think the next time I do a redraw, I'm going to I might even have a video before the redraw where I show you guys how to make custom brushes, because I think custom brushes would help a lot for these kind of comic redraws. As you can see, his shirt, I wasn't really happy with the first shirt I did on Doctor Strange. Even the end shirt, I think the Hulk in this definitely came out looking better than Doctor Strange. The lines in his shirt, I originally was using the vector brush, and it just looked too bubbly, and so then I go back in later and kind of redraw them a different way, and I'll show you when that happens. But overall, I just think that I'm going to have to do some custom brushes next time for this type of tutorial. And those, we'll make those free on Vector Art Club as well. And that way everybody can just download them and keep following. But I'll also show you how to make brushes because I've been dabbling with that a little bit. But I did not use them for this one. We're mostly using the texture brushes, which you can see right now. So I think this is the first time I pop over to the pixel persona. Basically, this is what I love about Affinity over drawing in Photoshop or Illustrator, is Affinity really gives you the best of both worlds. You can go in with vector, trace out, your outline like I'm doing here with the Hulk, go in, keep going with vector, go with vector as long as you want. That way you get that crisp outline, and then you can just hop over to the pixel persona in the same app and everything. And, you can do textures and brush like you would in Photoshop. And the workflow is just way better than, starting in Illustrator drawing and then exporting it, going into Photoshop, coming back. It's just great. And also, what's going on right here that I want to point out, something important. Right now, we're basically inking, okay? We're going through and we're getting all the dark blacks that, comics are known for. And we're just tracing over them. But the reason, too, they're just popping in is because I don't have the brush. Once I start drawing with the Wacom, it just disappears on screen and then it's going to pop in. So you don't see that happen. But basically, you can build up different layers with like the inking, and then you can go into pixel persona and use your brushes and give it texture and everything. And it's great. So here, what I'm doing to put the bands on, all it was I drew a sphere. And once you draw a sphere with the sphere tool, if you go up into the left-hand corner, like the tool tips up at the top, there's going to be one that says make donut, and it will automatically turn that into like a donut shape. And then I kind of squished them down and converted them to shapes, or converted them to curves. So basically, when you make a shape, you're not going to be able to go in and adjust the nodes until you got to right click on it and say convert to curves. Once you convert it into curves, you can play with it and adjust it. So that's one thing Affinity does kind of need to get into their next version, is like a skew tool. You can't really skew things unless they're curves. And even when you pick a group, I'd like to be able to pick a group and skew it. Okay, so what's going on right here? Real quick, I want to jump, trying to cover everything while this is speeding through. But okay, so that back, like, the spiked, the comic. If you look at the actual frame, it's got the the classic comic, spiked like little bubble around him. And that was something I thought that could be updated and just kind of modernized. And so what I did is, if you go into the shapes, you can pick the, I want to say it was like the 6-sided star. And then you can, once you have it on the screen, you can go and adjust how many points you want on it. I believe that was like 10 or 11 points that I have in the picture. And then what I did was just kind of blurred it out. And I think I made it like just a little bit of a bluish. It's basically white, but a little bit of blue. So now, like I said, I was going through the... I just didn't like how these were turning out with vector, and overall I think it's okay, but this is what it is. I was just kind of outlining those shadows, and then towards the end, just a general art trick, regardless of what you're drawing, if something's not coming out exactly how you want it, or it's just not looking all that great, just darken it. Just put shadows over it and kind of, hide it a little bit. I think this works, but I like how the Hulk turned out better for sure. So right now, okay, now we're going back into the pixel persona. As you can see up in the very top. I mean, you should know, if you're watching this, you should have a basic understanding of Affinity. If not, just click on my channel and you can watch some of the other tutorials that I have that kind of go through and describe stuff. But if you see in the very upper left-hand corner, there's those 3 icons, and I'm on the middle icon right now. That's the pixel persona. And when you're in Affinity, you're going to either be in the vector or the pixel, and you can go through them pretty seamlessly. You just have to make different layers that are vector and pixel. But you can keep multiplying, screening, doing your layer, doing your layer, what do you call them? You know what I'm talking about. Just getting everything how you want it without jumping back and forth in different programs. Here, I'm kind of going over, putting some texture into the cape. Sometimes it's easy to select the outline of what you're doing and then go in with a bigger brush. That way you don't have to go in and erase stuff that gets out of the lines. The cape, I don't think I went over with the cape there, how there's that, like, on the yellow part, there's that texture in there, the like the filigree kind of thing. So what that is, and again, that was a default vector image brush that if you go into Affinity, you'll see it right away. It actually is yellow. I mean, it's a vector brush, so we can change the color of it, but it actually worked out perfect for this tutorial. But even though it does work and it looks good, that's something that I think in the future, I'm going to show you guys how to do custom brushes. That way we can get exactly what we want. But it does work for this tutorial, and I just kind of left it as it is what it is kind of thing. So right now with the cape, I just kind of want to go through and tell you what I'm doing here. I went through and put the pixel like grime and kind of, just textured it up a little bit. I used the brush, the brush that I use is called Grime 7, and it's just a good grime brush for texture. So, but once you do that, then I still go back in and put vector over top of it just to give it some sharpness again. So in general, the steps of doing what I did here in Affinity is vector, pixels, and then vector again, and then potentially pixel again at the end, just to kind of do some final touch-ups. So the rocks, okay, so now I'm doing the outlines on the rocks. A good way to get like that chip look is by putting a highlight on top of the layer, so you got your dark, and then you got a little bit of a highlight around the edge, and it just gives a good rock look. So we go through, we do all that. I mean, for the most part, it looks like we're getting to the end here. I'm going to do some more texturing, and I'm going to do kind of like a little bit of a color change and stuff like that. I think I still got to do the shadow on the Hulk and go through and do some touch-ups. But for the most part, if you've been watching this, you should kind of get what I'm doing here. It is speeding along pretty quick. This whole process, this was about 5 hours. So, I got it sped up pretty quick here, but expect, you got to take your time with this stuff. Even though we are just kind of going through and tracing it, it still takes a lot of time. Here now, again, we had the vector of the Hulk, and now I'm going through and I'm putting just a little bit of highlight on them and just kind of giving them, a little bit of a 3D kind of look, just so he's not so flat, but at the same time, keeping him comic. So, okay, with Doctor Strange here, now I'm going into his hand. For a long time, man, I just was not happy with the way his hand looked. I traced it out the same as it was in the background picture, but it just wasn't working for me. So I'm going through here and I'm retweaking. Sometimes you're just going to have it where even though you're tracing it, it still doesn't look right. And you're just going to have to get in there and do it. What I ended up doing is I ended up adding like that extra finger coming down. Even though it wasn't in this frame of the comic, it is kind of a normal Doctor Strange thing. If you've seen the movie, they do kind of touch over it in the movie, but one of the reasons that he's so good at, the magic arts is because his hands break, and when they heal back together, he can still move his fingers into movements that normal people can't. So he's able to do those symbols, better. So, let's say the Wolverine can still go and try to learn the same, things that Doctor Strange does, but he's not going to quite pick up on them because Doctor Strange's hands can move in the ways that people can't. So I just threw that kind of weird finger in there on my own. And this is it. It's kind of wrapping up. I do a quick curves and just kind of compress the colors around a little bit. And I think we're about done. So I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure you check out vectorart.club.